Today's video is brought to us by the generosity of Firearms Legal Protection. Firearms Legal Protection is a legal defense program for lawful gun owners. You win the fight, and they will help you win the fight after the fight for the rest of your life. There's a link in the description for a coupon code for a discount for all active self-protection watchers. Well, and I mean, I think so. It depends too. If I'm just like at my current church, right, where my wife and I go to church, I'm just a member there, right? I just show up on Sunday mornings. I have no official capacity there whatsoever. I mean, we don't even have membership at our church, so I'm not even a member. There's none of that. We just show up on Sunday mornings. So really, in a significant sense, it's just like any other piece of private property that I choose to be on. It's no different than if I was in Macy's or those things. And I can just act in a reasonable manner there, and I have the right to defend myself in an equal manner everywhere I go. If instead I am an official member of something, right? I'm operating on the Greek team. I'm doing something in an official capacity there. Well, now I'm kind of, in some sense, in my place of business. And if I'm in my place of business, then I have kind of additional protections than I would in public. So it kind of depends on who I am, too. When I was the pastor at West Greenway, guess what? I'm the owner and director here. This is my property. This isn't just a place that I go. This is, I decide what happens here, which gives me additional protection in a very similar sense to my home. So I don't know if the church is unique in that perspective. Depends on probably who I am and what role I play there. If I'm on the church, a formal church security team, I have an additional role, and it's super complicated because depending on the state's responsibility, I know in some states you got to have like an armed guard card to do a formal team. I know, John, you've been heavily involved in formal security teams at the Christ Church of the Universe, and you know, there in Arizona we don't have to have that level of stuff, but you're operating in an official capacity, so now you have policy and procedures to follow, and you're going to be, you know, there's a whole another kettle of fish there. Which is why we always had an informal team. Because when they said, what are your policies and procedures? I go, I don't know what you're talking about. We don't even have that here.
Yeah.
Another question. Somebody's got one. Sir, oh, right here first. Hang on. Right.
We're rolling? We're good?
Are we going? We good? We rolling? Where did Mason go? He was going to do the thing with the thing, and he's gone. Okay. We'll do it the old way.
Sure.
Okay, so let's ask this for the people at home too, okay, because we didn't have the thing on you. Gentleman asked here at the ASP National Conference about, he lives in Cook County, Illinois, and he's
we're not going to hold that against him.
We're not going to hold it against him. He's, you know, they have rights there too, just they've all been taken away. It's like fiat due process. But anyways, he said, wait a minute, I don't understand what stand your ground is. And actually, I think stand your ground is vastly misunderstood.
Absolutely.
In America throughout. So, Terry, why don't you explain to us what stand your ground is and what it's not?
Sure. I'm going to do this from a general perspective because every state is going to be a little different. But for the most part, stand your ground basically means you have a legal right to be somewhere, and if someone is committing a crime, you don't have to run away. Let me give you the example I use in some of my classes. If I'm in a state like Maryland, okay, and let's say I pull up to a pump, I'm going to get gas, and I see someone walking up to me, right? And they're saying, don't move, I'm going to rob you. Now, before I pull a gun out or anything on this person, the first thing I've got to do is retreat. I've got to leave the area. So if I run, let's say down the block, and they run with me, I got to keep running. If I turn right, they turn right, I got to keep going. I turn left, they turn left. I get to an alley, I can go no further, then and only then can I use lethal force, okay? Why is that? That's called a duty to retreat state, okay? Now, same thing in a stand your ground state. I pull up and someone says, hey, I'm here to rob you. As long as I'm not committing an illegal act, in most places, as long as I'm not committing an illegal act, I have the right to stand where I am and defend myself. Now, all of the other things are still in place. In other words, I have to be in imminent fear of death, great bodily harm, sexual assault, so forth and so on. It does not, the only level of protection extra it gives you is you're outside of your home and you don't have to retreat. So think of it from this standpoint. There is only two types of laws on this. You either have a duty to retreat or you have stand your ground. So it's kind of like, and men understand this a lot better than women, she's either pregnant or she's not. Okay, there is no waiting. So that's kind of the difference between the two.
Well, and if I understand it correctly, so this gets invoked all the time, specifically in Florida, because you get this thing that people colloquially call a stand your ground hearing.
Yes.
But it's really not stand your ground.
No.
It's really an immunity hearing.
Correct. To see if the stand your ground law would apply to your case. And if you think about it, the one that we're most familiar with is the Zimmerman case, correct? And in the Zimmerman case, believe it or not, stand your ground was not allowed to be used as a defense. But the anti-gun folks, the anti-stand your ground folks, keep calling it a stand your ground case. It was not.
He was being beaten into the ground, and he had no ability to retreat. He couldn't have gone anywhere.
Correct.
And therefore, it's irrelevant. I think the other one that people think about just happened was not too long ago. This is the case of Michael Draka.
Yes, in Florida as well.
In Florida as well, against Marcus McLaughlin, who, if you remember that case, McLaughlin's girlfriend pulled into a handicapped parking spot without a handicap decal. Draka pulled up a little bit later. He had gone into the store with, I think, one of their children. Draka got out frustrated because his mom uses handicap parking, and he's angry, so he starts yipping at her girlfriend, McLaughlin's girlfriend, that she shouldn't be parking there. And McLaughlin saw that, ran outside, and pushed him violently to the ground. Okay?
Correct.
Violently to the ground. And then in that moment, he falls down on the ground. Now, at that second, he has no ability to retreat. He's grounded.
Correct.
So he draws a firearm, points it at him for 2 seconds. McLaughlin goes, whoa, like this, and takes a step back. Draka shoots him one time. He runs back into the store and dies.
Correct.
And Draka was convicted of manslaughter.
Correct.
In that case. And if you remember, when we talked about that shortly after it happened, I said he's going to have a real hard time when the prosecutor gets a look at this, because that looks like manslaughter to me.
Absolutely.
And again, for that reason of the weight is what it was. But the stand your ground, when a lot of people are like, oh, it's a stand your ground thing, it's a stand your ground thing. It had nothing to do with it. He was grounded. He couldn't go anywhere.
Right. And here's the other part. Think of it this way more than anything else. The only extra right you get is you don't have to run away. You really got to remember that. That's really it. I don't have to run away if someone is robbing me or trying to do something to me. Like I said, it's not a duty to retreat. Everything else is exactly identical the same.
Well, and if I have a duty to retreat, I don't have to take an unsafe avenue of retreat. I only have to take an avenue that provides me safety.
Correct.
So if I have to run by the bad guy with a knife to get away, that's not a safe avenue of retreat. It's not a viable avenue of retreat. So if I don't have the ability to do something, I can't have the duty to do something I don't have the ability to do. So that's what that duty to retreat is. But in most states, I think, 34 states now, 35 states, there is some version of stand your ground.
Correct.
And again, all that means is I don't have a duty to retreat before defending myself with whatever level of force I would be justified in using under circumstances that I couldn't retreat.
It's the old thing you would hear years ago when people would say, you know, if you shoot someone outside the home, you have to drag them back in, right?
Yuck.
Okay,
don't do that.
Don't do that. But why would they say that? Because again, that was the only place at the time that you were safe, that you know, could be at and not say, hey, you know, I have no duty to retreat, which was in your home. The same thing applies in those states with stand your ground. You don't have to, nor am I telling you to, drag someone back in the house.
In fact, we would both say, if you shoot someone, don't mess with the crime scene. They have done something illegal that caused you to shoot them, right? They were a deadly threat to you and yours. If you move the body, you know what that is? Tampering with evidence. That's violating a crime scene. You can get convicted of that crime all by itself. Don't do it. I'm going to go take his gun and put it back in his hand or whatever. You're tampering with evidence. If you need to pick that gun up to put it in a safe place, that's a reasonable thing to do because you didn't want him to continue to have it or whatever. But don't alter a crime scene. You know, I guess unless you murdered someone in cold blood and you want to try to get away with it, in which case you're a terrible human being and stop watching my channel.
There you go.